Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining the Behind Company Lines podcast. Today we have Jaydeep Korde, CEO, co-founder of Launchnodes, a company that focuses on investment-grade Ethereum staking. Jaydeep, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited to chat with you, get kind of your expertise and your knowledge within the crypto space, but also as a founder and dive into your background. Yeah. Of course. Before we get into all the stuff about Launchnodes and what you're building now, what were you doing before?
I was consulting actually. Yeah, I was consulting. I was helping banks and corporations try to use the cloud and now services using microservices and a bunch of development patterns that are cloud native. That's not too jargony, but yeah, I was consulting.
Yeah, maybe. What is it like in terms of the consulting experience, and how is it similar to, being and founding a company and kind of selling a product? Are there a lot of crossover similarities?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think that in a consulting context, you're perpetually trying to frame your advice and make yourself sound wise and sensible. Whereas within the context of a product, you're trying to be compelling and wildly passionate about trying to get value to your client and trying to understand that. So I think you shed a load of these trappings of reasonableness and sensible, and and you're like, I've got to get this done, and I've got to find out what does my customer care about, and how do I get value? That becomes your sort of obsession and raison d'etre. Whereas I think within the consulting context, you sort of know, is your client really going to buy it? How far can you push? What can you get done here? And you work within those parameters. Whereas, the selling product, it's pretty scary, right? You pour out, you set up your cups and your stall, you pour out your lemonade, and does anyone buy your juice, right? And obviously people start spitting it out, throwing the cup in your face. It's a bit of a disappointing experience.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of, rejection and just circumstances and feedback that you have to take in and not to internalize so much so where it depletes kind of your motivation, but help you reframe either your product or your message. It's a tough founder experience. Is there anything, I guess, advice-wise to early founders that you maybe have now extracted from going through that evolution of, okay, the feedback I'm receiving isn't necessarily the most positive, but there are bits of it. And then you've evolved to create the product that you have today. Just curious if you had any, advice for early founders.
I think generically, you're right. You have to be resilient. I think that one of the practical ways in which you can be resilient is to really care about the product you want to get to your client.
Yeah.
This is when a player steps up to take a free kick in a soccer match or football match, as we call it, they visualize the ball going in. I think you have to visualize the customer getting the value with a big smile, yum, yum, yum. Isn't this tasty? Isn't this wonderful? My life is better from having this product. And I think in that visualization, you can look at critical feedback and go, yes, needed more chocolate, needed more sugar, whatever it is, rather than feeling that there's some sort of personal affront that you've been rejected. I think that.
Yeah. I like the bit about ingredients, kind of adding, it's like perfecting a recipe in a lot of ways. So just backtracking here, you're a consultant, you're talking to a bunch of companies, and then you have this idea to create Launchnodes. What was the catalyst, or what was the inspiration to not only dive into, crypto and the crypto space as well? Had you been working with it? Or was it something that you particularly found interesting and saw a market need out there? What was the whole process in getting into Launchnodes and building a company?
So I trace it back to an article by Vinay Gupta about programmable blockchains. And at the time I was building scale and hyperscale platforms for different clients and working with engineering teams to build those out and, deep into the weeds. And in that paper, he kind of blew my mind through the context of talking about a shared database. And what if we had one shared database? And that now gets lost in the pointy graphs and prices going up and down. But for me, blockchain, I don't like that word really. I understand why it's used, but it takes you away from what it is and why it's important. What it is and why it's important is it's a shared database. And in the value of there being a shared database, we all have access to the applications that then run on that shared database. And for that shared database to be safe and secure and have good data and work, a currency emerges that rewards all the people that are doing the work to keep that database safe, secure, open, and updated with information. And so that for me was a really seminal moment. And from then, I think I just, having worked in the old world for so long and seen what that meant, right? That we were perpetually building logic out, up from databases to then talk to each other, to then go and talk to other databases and then build. Yeah, if you're no longer building up, you're just in the data. The efficiency that really struck me as just a very practical change to what the day-to-day work I saw around me. So your question was when that was the moment. I think from a setting up the company perspective, it's not an understatement to say I love my co-founders and we had been friends for 20 years. And we worked together. They actually bought that business from me, 17 years ago. So choosing to work with people that you really like and care about also helps, I think. And the softer words about that, care about, love, they're really important, because I think that in the startup scenario, there are lots of emotional highs and lows, and being able to be generous in every kind of facet of that word, time, energy, emotion, thoughtfulness is really important. And it's easy if you really, really like the people you work with.
Yeah. Yeah. You
I don't know if that's advice, or I was fortunate to find myself in that situation, but
a lot of founders talk about seeking the right team and right mentors or right network. And it's something that's been discussed time and time again, because without that, it's difficult to go through the challenges or even just the kind of see the full perspective of what you're building and your customers' user experience. So many different facets to why it's important to have the right people around you who support ideas versus, who are maybe competitive or combative around ideas. It kind of, you're kind of one body, one mind in a lot of ways as you're, focusing on the company and not each other's kind of growth. And it's kind of I think it's how a lot of companies are successful at the end of the day. And describe the process of staking for those who don't know or unfamiliar within, crypto and in the blockchain space. Describe the process of staking and how Launchnodes essentially enables the ability to stake and invest in Ethereum.
For sure. So blockchain, and I've already said I dislike that word, but let's go with it. Others like it a lot.
What's another word?
Shared database. I don't know what
database,
it's called.
Right? Shared database.
Shared database. Okay. For there to be blockchains, there have to be nodes. There has to be nodes. If a blockchain doesn't have nodes, then it can't be healthy. And the reason that that's the case is that for a blockchain to work, keep the shared data to be updated and in sync and with good value, good data, not bad data. Someone needs to be updating it. And the work of updating everyone's copy of the database in a proof of stake blockchain is done by these nodes. And these nodes are rewarded for doing the work of updating everyone's copy of the database, keeping the network secure and validating good transactions. And our hypothesis in staking is that for Ethereum to be truly decentralized, I can't give you the outcome of the node. And trust me, right? That FTX model for us never worked. You have to own the node, right? Julian has to own the node and be there to the network and take on some aspects of the ownership and managing your keys and not losing them and stuff and passing the mnemonic phrases. But the node ownership, we can make easy for you, Julian, right? You don't need to be super technical. And even if you are super technical, then what we've done by making it kind of Lego bricks, the staking architecture, rather than saying, oh, give me your money and we'll give you a node and you get 14%, 8%, 6%. What we've said is, look, this is what staking is in all its, component parts. Use us to build your staking architecture, choosing the particular Lego bricks that are important to you. Be that get nodes, be that beacon nodes, be that validator nodes. And on top of that, we've focused on the idea of public cloud and AWS, but we also enable clients to stake on their own tin or choose a geography for whatever reason might be important to them. And so our goal is to make as many people independent and what the Ethereum Foundation classes solo stakers as possible. So our clients are solo stakers, whereas the idea that you have, some staking providers, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but they have rolling digits of millions of dollars and number of nodes on their website indicating how much you should trust them, is not a model we buy into. And I don't think that there's, I think Ethereum is an important network, like the internet's an important network. I think it's going to change everything. And I'm not as multi-chain as other people are who are, wise, and I respect their opinions, but I don't intuit that multi-chain world as much as I do an Ethereum world with layer 2s and an ecosystem that sits around that. And part of that is my consulting background. Like the quality of software that goes into building a good chain is hard work, really hard work.
Yeah.
It's not about getting a PR team and getting a listing on an exchange and then flogging your coin. It's about really, really hard work and really, really deep, thoughtful considerations that Ethereum have done and have got a big advantage on. So I don't know if that I've talked for a long time.
No,
if I've asked.
No, you definitely answered the question. And speaking of hard work and quality of software, describe the significance, at least to you and to Launchnodes, for the movement from to proof of stake in Ethereum 2.0. How is that significant to you in your business, and how does that excite you as this technology continues to evolve and improve?
So those nodes that now do the work that large computing, compute power used to do, has obviously made a big environmental difference in terms of the energy that now is required to secure the network, which is great. The second bit is that it democratizes participation in securing the network, right? Our view, and certainly my view when I realized that what proof of stake was, Julian, if we're both bakers and you've got a baking friend in France and I've got someone in Kenya or Brazil, we can pull together some capital, run a node, earn a return from that node, and put that to whatever we want to do. And I think that, blockchain came about, Satoshi's paper came out of the banking crisis, and the Eurozone crisis is something that, those of us who saw and were interested in it, the idea that, Italian businesses who had banked their whole lives with local banks and suddenly woke up the next morning and their deposits had gone because the bank had renamed itself, was shocking. And here was an obvious solution. So you could have pools of capital come together on shared principles and values and an interest rate in perpetuity that didn't require a banking risk model. You don't have to make loans from your deposits to make an interest rate. You have to do the new work of updating everyone's copy of the database, running this node, putting some capital on it, 32 ETH, and away you go, and you earn an interest rate. And the network that is Ethereum, and blurring terminology here, network and database. That network and database grows in its utility in the same way the internet did. The value gets shared out to these nodes that are distributing. And I think that people talk about blockchain infrastructure and throw nodes into that bucket. Nodes are not blockchain infrastructure. Nodes are special. And we want as many people as possible to have nodes themselves.
Yeah. describe this. I was reviewing and getting to understand the product a little bit more. And there was one circumstance that was super fascinating to me is, describe this idea that if someone stakes their ETH, they could potentially lose it by not acting in the best interest of their network. What are ways people can act in or become a bad actor or act in ways that are not incentivized to support the network? And have you seen them kind of with any of the partners that are a node kind of set up as a node through your system?
Yeah. So I think overall, Ethereum's slashing events, and again, this is one of the great things, right? You sort of, it's a totally transparent network. We can see from Genesis what's happened. Been very small, right? Really small. There hasn't been many slashing events. And what you can essentially get slashed for is if you, with one pair of keys, try and run two nodes. Right? That's the main easy mistake to make, as it were. But you can go offline and you can, miss attestations, and there's an opportunity cost you didn't earn when you could have done, because one of the demands of these nodes is that they're always available when the network says, Julian, your node's up. You get to update everyone's copy of the database. You've got to be there ready, got to be running the right software, and promise to update everyone's copy with good database with good data. And for that, you get rewarded. And so, you can be down and you're not going to get slashed. You'll miss the opportunity to earn, but you won't get slashed. And now as the network is upgraded, actually, if you do try and, run a node with two keys, and there are other scenarios, but that's the two nodes with the same pair of keys, then your flashing event will be quite significant, because there are a lot of tools and ways that you can avoid doing that in an automatic fashion. So, yeah.
What's the
way to do it? The other way is you lose your keys. If you lose your mnemonic phrase, right? If you lose your mnemonic phrase for your node, then you're in a bit of a pickle.
The guy, but the difference between a beacon. Describe the difference between a beacon node and a validator node.
The beacon node connects to the beacon chain and doesn't have any money on it, essentially, and does the work of orchestrating, Ethereum pods, as it were. The validator node is what has your money on it, and that validator node connects to a beacon node. And so it's your validator node that collects the earning of your node doing its work, and that balance is accruing. And when the network upgrades to the Shanghai upgrade, you'll be able to take off your returns and your principal, I think. And what we're seeing right now with customers is that in terms of the inclusion fee, now that all those proof of work miner returns are coming onto the proof of stake network, you've also got returns going into a MetaMask wallet associated with your node, right? And if you're running MEV on top of that, which is the miner extracted value, minimal extracted value, maximal extracted value, I forget exactly what the end they've changed over the months. That MEV is a boost on top of your earnings, base earnings for running a validator, and they go into your wallet and they're able for you to spend straight away. But that is but your earnings in the mainstay are from your validator node, which has 32 Ethereum on it, and that's what earns you your returns.
The
beacon node, and just to add to that, the beacon node is something you need if you want to examine the blockchain. So there are these things called RPC nodes, and if you want to examine and again natively own that data and examine that data rather than trusting APIs or a third party. But if you want that data, you want to know what it is, and you want to make decisions on the back of that, often financial ones, then the beacon node, allows you to do that, running with it in conjunction with the Geth node.
I'm so interested in Launchnodes and how it's been able to, kind of create this very accessible process to build nodes within, an individual, rather than having some large organization kind of control a large portion of it. Tell us a little bit about the traction. How many users are on your platform, building nodes? What are the growth numbers that you've seen so far? And what are the projections for the future?
Yeah. So one of the criticisms I think we would end up having to take as a business is that we've not diluted the problem that the 32 Ethereum costing $50,000 or $32,000, whatever it is, right? That's not a small amount of money. And so actually what we've seen is predominantly large holders of ETH and businesses who are working in this space as our customers, rather than it being a retail thing. And again, because we enable our clients to be solo stakers and we don't have those rolling digits of millions of dollars, numbers of nodes, it's our clients doing the staking. We're providing them tools. So we don't really talk about, the millions of dollars and the numbers of nodes and that sort of stuff, because it's our clients who are doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges?
What we see in terms of growth, what we see from a growth perspective, I think we see technologies like distributed validator technology and networks like SSV and OVAL being really important. We see institutional money coming in to want to stake. And I think as it stops being, evangelists like myself talking about it, after 6 and 8 months post-merge, there's just data. This is what these nodes earned. I think you're going to see a drift of institutional capital come in that are close to the space. And then I think there are lots and lots of what we see is different businesses building different propositions on staking, right? Because once you own the nodes, then you can then go and offer client services above that, high interest rate account, high interest rate savings accounts, loans, etc. And I think that market is emerging and growing, and we'll look to support businesses that want to play in that space.
Yeah. Yeah. Excited to see the evolution and the accessibility of a different asset class and being able to, even take loans off of, the material that you hold in the space. What are some of the biggest challenges that Launchnodes faces today?
I think that Ethereum and Bitcoin and what I would class as credible cryptocurrencies in Bitcoin and in Ethereum as a shared database and as a network have been tarnished massively in this FTX scandal. And I think rightly so. I don't think, our community is exclusively full of good actors who like the hard work of building and making stuff that's useful. I think there's been an enormous amount of fraud. And I think that we're suffering that the idea that you dress up a hedge fund and give it crypto instead of treasuries and credit default swaps. And apparently that's crypto business. That's what we wanted in the crypto community is ridiculous. So I think, I think that what we would like is new entities and new funds and new organizational structures that allow people to put their capital in, earn interest, an interest rate. And I think that the FTX model was very much old world. And I don't think we can avoid going through it. But, because actually, I was around in 2001 and, when people were telling me that, the internet, .com nonsense, businesses don't have a business model I'm going to buy books online. Yes. So what? I'm not going to buy train tickets online. I'm not going to buy plane. I'm not going to sell my house online. So I think that the scale of change that network like Ethereum is going to bring and Bitcoin, I think, have not gone away. I just think that they're getting a battering right now. And the other bit is why would they not be getting a battering when real people are having real problems in real life? Like if crypto thinks that its world can sit in an ivory tower with, rocket ships and to the moon prices and not engage with the real world, well, then I think it's going to be a huge disappointment to all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. What is something that as a founder, you're better at now that you weren't necessarily the best at when you first started, Launchnodes?
Realizing how valuable it is when I'm wrong and I'm a terrible listener, but I've got a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, is there anything, is there any story in particular, any anecdote that particularly stick out to you?
Every day, Julian. Every day,
Yeah.
every day I'm wrong and I'm grateful for it. Every day I'm
Yeah.
a terrible listener.
I love that. I love the honesty. I guess, long-term wise, what's the long-term vision? If everything goes well, what's the long-term vision for Launchnodes?
I don't know. I think we're having lots and lots of fun building great product and getting into the hands of customers that love it. I think we've got really really smart and supportive investors who are helping us grow the business. I feel and giving us kind of global exposure that's really important. And I don't know. I think if I'm sure you've had other co-founders on here and CEOs who are much more eloquent and convincing about describing the plan. But I think if I tried to describe the plan, it would be very obvious I was lying or didn't have one. So I'm going with honesty. Yeah, we love.
I love it.
We love what we're doing. We love the idea of more people owning nodes, and we're passionate about doing that. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, I guess, what are some of, I think this is an obvious question, but from just wanting to hear it from you, what are some of the benefits of creating diversity and accessibility to, not only institutions and companies, owning nodes, but also that trickling down to individuals who, have the ability to purchase nodes and run them. What are the benefits of that diversity that you see?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Julian. Do you mean in terms of the diversity of ownership and people owning nodes and what it's going to mean? Is that
That's correct. Yeah.
yeah? So I think that what I would really really hope is that as part of the ecosystem, platforms emerge, and we're looking to build in this space actually in a kind of social impact context whereby you, me, 40 other people, we're all World of Warcraft players or whatever our interest is, fans of Friends, whatever. And I'm hopefully there's a positive construct in terms of our working together. And the idea that we could have an interest and we would want to fund that interest in perpetuity through staking returns, I think is really powerful. And I think that for me, that was that I intuited that as being an exciting opportunity when I first heard about Ethereum and proof of stake.
Yeah.
And I think also that the technology and the network's evolving, right? So what Ethereum is right now in terms of 32 Ethereum, in terms of the unfortunately high costs of running full nodes, is only going to come down, right? And we want to be there to support that in every which way we possibly can. Because I think that whilst we've been talking about the money and the staking returns, node equals data and money, right? That's what you get. And so if you're interested in the data and you want to monetize it and build and have business opportunities on top of that, the node is the gateway to do that. If you want the staking returns and to build financial propositions on top of that, again, the node is your gateway. And what I feel that is so important about the node and the way it does this work that allows you to earn money, right? I always feel that's really important when you talk about staking is, why are you getting free money every month? Like, you're getting that money because you're doing the work of securing the network, updating everyone's copy of the database. And for that new type of work, you get paid, right? That it's automated and that it has a big pool of capital to it is just process details, but you are doing a type of work to get that money. It's not magic money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that awareness and understanding, growing that is going to be really hugely beneficial to so many different causes. And I think what we've also done, and we've also seen that this fixed pool of capital from a node is connected to it earning interest in perpetuity from securing the network. Well, that would be a great way to fund charitable causes and benevolent, social impact, right? And so I think that we've done work as the implementation partner with the Ethereum Foundation and UNICEF to run a node and use those returns to pay for internet connectivity for schools. And it's a pilot project, and we're learning as much as, and we don't want to overly ring the bell that it's all done. And, this is now the way in which school internet connectivity is going to be financed, but it's certainly an interesting experiment that we want to continue to build into. And why just schools internet connectivity? Why not be a support for vulnerable groups or fighting climate change, right? Reforestation. If you've got money coming out perpetually, couldn't that pay to rewild and reforest parts of the Amazon? And I think the other killer in that model is after 2 to 3 years, you as your donor, you get your money back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there's a huge compelling body of work that needs to be done in this space. And we feel very lucky and privileged to be involved with that.
Yeah. I love that. And I know we're coming to close to the episode, and we could go, I think there's so many different topics and so many different ways that the technology can be, used to really kind of create perpetual benefits. But I'll take a step back and I'll ask a question that I selfishly love to ask for my own research, but also for my audience. Whether it was early in your career or now, currently driving you, what books or people have influenced you the most?
Interesting. People, I probably, it'd be inaccurate to say it wasn't my parents. Books, Neil Stephenson springs to mind. Tom Robbins. I'm trying to throw it in English also. More recently, Nick Harkaway, actually. Science fiction author. I think they're the standout.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Jaydeep, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'm really excited to share this with my audience. The last little bit is I'd love to give my guests a chance to give us your plugs. What's your website? What's your LinkedIn? What's your Twitters? Where can we be a part of Launchnodes and get involved and support, and maybe even set up our own node as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Launchnodes.com. Find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm pretty easy. Jaydeep Korde. Launchnodes, and Twitter is at Launchnodes.
Incredible. Well, again, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and thank you again, Jaydeep, for being on the show.
I think it's really, really great. Thank you. I'm a big fan of this podcast, so it's great to be on it. Thank you, Dan.
Amazing.